Hello and welcome to Broken Entertainment. So, we have an article today on bounding into comics that I think really gets into the heart of where are movies, where is digital film entertainment, television entertainment going in the future. Now, my prediction for a while now has been movie theaters are going to become this small niche kind of thing where, I don't know if you have one of these in your town, but there's a lot of movie theaters here in the United States that are small. There's these little theaters that are owned locally usually, and they put on events. They'll do a movie. It's never a brand new movie. They'll do like Aliens, for example, or they'll do Jaws, and they'll do a specific screening of that that's advertised ahead of time. People come in to see it, to see kind of a classic movie or a movie in a classic setting, and they make kind of an event out of it. And these theaters tend to do all right. And I think that's kind of where they're all going to end up. We're going to move away from these multi-superplexes to these small niche things that may show a new film, but they're also going to do kind of a lot of event stuff. And I think in a way that's sad, but in a way that's a good thing, because the alternative is probably the complete destruction of the movie industry in terms of cinema and movie theaters. So I'd rather see that than see them just completely die off and go away. But this is on Bounding into Comics. This is Hollywood producer Jason Blum warns about new Hollywood streaming dynamic. Hollywood producer Jason Blum recently warned about the new streaming dynamic, declaring it's not good for anyone but the streamers. Blum is the founder and CEO of Blumhouse Productions. It has found success in the horror genre, producing films like The Purge, Insidious, Halloween, and Paranormal Activity. Blum appeared on the Business Podcast, hosted by the Hollywood reporters Kim Masters, where he discussed Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company. Johansson filed a lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company, accusing them of intentional interference with contractual relations and inducing breach of contract. Specifically, she claims that Disney intentionally and improperly induced Marvel to breach its agreement with the plaintiff by releasing Black Widow on Disney Plus simultaneously with its release in theaters in violation of the agreement, which required a theatrical release of the picture as the parties understood that term at the time of contracting, meaning exclusive theatrical release of the picture. Basically, she lost a bunch of money because they didn't, they released it on streaming, so a bunch of bonuses didn't pay out. Now, she made $30 million. I'm not crying for, sorry. That's more money than most people will ever see in multiple lifetimes. I think she did just fine. At the beginning of the conversation with Masters, Blum warned of the new Hollywood streaming dynamic. I think Bill Gates or Sumner Redstone said content is king. Michael Eisner said it a lot after that. In a world where everything we see is being controlled by 4 streamers, I think it's very safe to say that content is no longer king. Not just 4 streamers, we're really dealing with, 4 companies in general? Disney, what do we got? Disney, Universal, Sony, and Amazon. Those are the big ones. And they control probably 90% of entertainment in terms of movie, television, streaming, etc. Distribution and data are king, and that's not good for anybody except the streamers. Blum would then specifically go into Johansson's lawsuit against Disney, describing it as an existential fight. Told Masters she had to choose to do this. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's really brave, and in this much bigger existential fight that's really leading, which is sharing on streaming. How are we going to come to terms with the fact that streamers don't share on streaming, and there are certain times Knives Out or our Exorcist deal, you can take advantage of that and get paid all up front, but I don't think it's sustainable. What he's saying is, when they make these movies for streaming, they don't get royalties, they don't get bonuses, etc., etc. If the movie does really well, they don't get extra money. They just sign a contract up front, you get paid X amount, you make the movie, it goes up on streaming. It does poorly, you make the same amount of money. It does very well, you make the same amount of money. What they're saying to us now is we'd rather a handful of times a year pay an insane amount of money up front then share. That's the battle that she's fighting for all of us. That's what's going on here. It just happens to be she's very famous. She's fighting a fight that, like you said, it's going on across Hollywood right now. Alright, here's the thing. The media likes to kind of make Scarlett Johansson out as a hero. And they're like, oh, she's doing this big stand-up fight for everybody's rights with streaming. No. Scarlett Johansson wants the rest of her money. She's not doing this, whether she says that now or not doesn't matter. She's not doing this for everybody else. This is purely self-motivated. She is an actress who is, unfortunately, thanks to Hollywood's ridiculous age bias, essentially at the end of her career in terms of action movies, that kind of thing that have basically made her career, because she's in the dreaded 30s. And, that's ridiculous, but it's Hollywood. And so she wants every dime she can get. Understandable. She's obviously done with Disney. She was obviously done before she filed the lawsuit. She was out as Black Widow. She's not a hero. She's not standing up for the little guy here. I'm sorry. She's just not. Point out Blumhouse Productions Company. Clearly that's the model my company was built on. If we make something and it makes a lot of money, everyone involved makes a lot of money. If we make something and it doesn't make a lot of money, no one does, including us. I like that model. It encourages actors, scriptwriters, directors, etc. to make good, entertaining movies rather than to make politically motivated crap, because politically motivated crap doesn't tend to make a lot of money, and if it doesn't make a lot of money, they don't make a lot of money. Blum then reiterated, I think that ties into better movies and better television shows. I would agree. On a streaming movie, you're not participating in an upside or a downside, and I think that can compromise the creative process. Absolutely. Netflix especially is guilty of this. They just kind of crap stuff out. Here's a show, 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 here's a show. We're going to cancel this one, we're going to cancel this one, we're going to cancel this one, we'll renew that one. Stuff gets canceled left and right for no apparent reason. Doesn't get a shot. Other stuff gets a shot for no apparent reason. They're just kind of throwing stuff out. They just want to have a whole bunch of stuff. And in the process of that, the quality of their content has suffered significantly in a lot of ways. And you're seeing dramatic drops in subscribers as a result. I think there are going to be a ton of lawsuits, and I hope eventually they'll be sharing and streaming like there is in every other media, like there is in DVD and home video and television sales, and like there has been for 50 years in this business. And I hope that the dam will break, but it remains to be seen. There's going to be a lot of fighting for sure. So, he says every other media. He actually means movies and television. It doesn't work that way for everybody else. And it kind of worked that way for comics, but only for the top producers on the top books. It was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in that regard. And there's nothing wrong with it working that way. I think it does lead to better stuff, because if you make bad stuff and it doesn't make any money, you want to make better stuff. You're economically driven to do that. Interestingly enough, later in the conversation, Blum would talk about his new deal with NBC Universal for 3 Exorcist movies, where he calls himself a hypocrite. The New York Times reported Blum was getting paid $400 million to make a new Exorcist trilogy for NBC Universal's Peacock streaming service. Yeah, and forget the money there for a minute. It's 3 new Exorcist movies? Why? You're seeing a lot of that with streaming. Oh, let's just take something that's been made 100 times and we'll make more of them. Because they're just throwing stuff out. It turns out when you have to have a lot of content and you have to keep producing a lot of content, you actually don't have much content. So they're having to kind of scramble and make sequels and prequels and requels and spin-offs and spin-ons, and there's just a lot of garbage out there, and you're going to continue to get a lot of garbage because they're just trying to get stuff. Oh, I want to have stuff. That's why we don't have 1 Star Trek show. We've got like 4. That's why you see Netflix throwing crap at the wall. That's why Disney keeps releasing all these Marvel shows, and they do like 1 season, and then they may or may not do another one. They're just throwing it out there. And since they don't have to pay out more or less, and therefore don't get grumpy actors and directors who are like, hey, this was crap, I didn't get paid anything because it was crap, they can just keep doing it. And it's not sustainable. He's right. Blum explains how the deal works. The movies are all paid for. Not only are the movies paid for, the profit participation is accounted for. So that's my point. Listen, I'm being a hypocrite because I took the deal and I think is bad for movies. He added, but this is the model. This is what we are stuck with. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to take advantage of it. Do I think it's ultimately good? These kinds of deals? No, I do not. And he kind of goes on. So, I have to agree. I think a lot of the movies we're seeing come out that are doing well are coming from a different place than the streaming stuff. There's stuff that happens to be on streaming as well, rather than the stuff that's coming out for Netflix. You know, Godzilla vs. Kong made a lot of money. A couple others made a lot of money. Paw Patrol did $13 million in its opening weekend. By the way, it's number 2 at the box office, and it's not even close. The next closest movie made like $1 million. So, you're seeing these movies that are made for entertainment purposes that aren't really made to just throw crap out on streaming. They're doing pretty well, by and large. But the stuff that streaming's pumping out, that's already prepaid for, they don't have to worry about bonuses, etc., etc. Well, they kind of speak for themselves. Some of them have done okay. Some of them have even done well. A lot of them are forgettable and disappear. And it's because they're garbage. Because they can just throw stuff at a wall. It's, you know, it's the shotgun approach to entertainment. I'm gonna fire off as many movies as I can. It'll make people watch my streaming service and stay subscribed or subscribe because they want to see this stuff and see what it's like, even though they know it might not be any good. They at least want to check it out, and that's the only way they can. When it comes to these movies that are released on theater and on streaming at the same time, I think that's a different animal. A lot of them were designed for theaters, and then all this stuff happened, and you know what I'm talking about, but YouTube won't let us talk about it. All this stuff happened, and they kind of changed their model and fiddled with stuff. Black Widow, Godzilla vs. Kong, Paw Patrol, all examples of that. You know, Paw Patrol wasn't made to be a streaming movie. It is, however, available on streaming at the same time it's available in theaters because of everything that's going on. And then the streaming services hide the numbers. Okay, you don't know how well a lot of these do once they're released because they don't talk about it. So, you know, I think, now he thinks eventually this is going to kind of meet in the middle and stuff will kind of balance out. I think we've seen the rapid consolidation of streaming. We've seen the rapid consolidation of the entertainment industry in terms of video. And I think it's going to keep doing that. I think we're going to end up with these 4, might be 3 major companies controlling all of it. And I think they're going to tell the actresses and directors and actors to, you know, get on board or go take a long walk off a short cliff or a short pier, whatever the phrase is. And that's going to be where it goes. And more, I think these companies are going, do we really need, and that's what they're experimenting with. Make no mistake. They're wondering if they need theaters at all. When they put these on streaming, they get all of the money. When they put it in theaters, they have to share the money. They have to put up with theaters. They have to deal with theaters. But if they find out they can put it all on streaming, see, I don't know if they've found that or not. We don't know. So many of the numbers are hidden, it's hard to say. But the fact that HBO Max, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, whatever Plus, keep putting out movies on both tells me that they're weighing those options. They're saying, okay, do we need the theater? Or can we do this all on streaming? And I think if you start to see more and more numbers streaming and less box office performance, and box office is way down right now because Thing 2.0 is happening, if you start to see that, they might end up moving towards, like I said, these major cineplexes. They're just not sustainable anymore as movies shift more towards streaming platforms, because we haven't seen another round of movies yet. The movies we're seeing now were all made before this was a thing. It'd be very interesting to see the first round of movies made while it's a thing. I'm very curious to see what those are targeted for. Right now we talk about simultaneous release in theaters and streaming, but what if we flip the script? What if it's a simultaneous release in streaming and theaters? How long before that happens? And how long before we're going to release this on streaming and then later we're going to sell it to dollar matinees and so on? I don't know. There's a lot going on in the film entertainment industry right now. We just don't know the numbers yet. We haven't seen the production yet. Everything, like I said, everything coming out right now was not made while Thing is going on. Once we start to see those, we'll have a clearer picture. But I think we're moving in a definitive direction away from theaters. And I don't think it's going to stop. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time.